And we are back now. We waited 40-ish, no, we waited 20 minutes for a 40-minute game to conclude between Chappy and Piglet. Now, we're going to be able to get into the ace match of that series. It's a best of 3. As a reminder to everyone.
They were in a 40-minute game, mate. Ay. We apologize for the delay. We actually literally just ran out of duct tapes. We played every single one that I had available, and we are here. We're in the ace match.
We are looking to conclude it. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't take 40 minutes once again here on Cosmic Sapphire. We're in the top left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way to the top left-hand corner. We have the blue Zerg player, not Terran this time, going to be representing clan SC Swarm. Everybody's feeling happy down under. It's Chappy.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Cosmic Sapphire, we have the back-to-back ANZ champ himself, representing OPSV. It's the Australian Terran. It is Piglet. And I appreciate this so much.
Yes.
So
hopefully it actually ends the game.
Yeah. We have a pull first coming out from Chappy. I imagine we're going to be seeing a Roach Warren after this, but we shall see, as he does have a hatchery following this. But I was messaging Chappy after his game, and I was so excited because Chappy won the last game. You know, he was able to beat Piglet in late game ZVT against Mech, and that doesn't happen too often. And he was smurging hard, and I'm like, why are you smurging? You did it, you won. You're doing it, Poppy. Send it. And he's like, no, I didn't win the last game, mate. I was stuck in a 40-minute ZVT against Mech. I did not win.
Nobody wins that.
He's like, Mech is unbeatable. My mental is destroyed. I'm like, no. Don't do it, Poppy. Don't do it. Oh, God. So, hopefully he's able to recover a little bit. For those who don't watch too much of this scene, Piglet is known for his mech in this matchup. He has a very defensive, very turtley style. And Chappy specifically, like many Zerg players, absolutely hates playing against mech.
Like any same player, really.
Yeah, exactly. If you enjoy playing against mech, then there is something wrong with you. There is
Objectively speaking.
You will have to be committed. I mean, it's for your own good.
So it's good to see that Chappy is, you know, in control of his mental facilities.
Yeah, he only went for the pool first for 2 Lings, and the Lings, they do force Reaper to stay at home because obviously Piglet is fully aware of the pool first opener, but it was only these Lings, so Chappy isn't really being overly aggressive with them. It just, you know, forces his opponent to be a little bit more defensive at the beginning of the game, and because of that, he's able to drone up to his heart's content.
Yeah, I was going to say Chappy forced a bit of a reaction out of Piglet. You know, he is building that bunker in the main base, but this is Piglet we're talking about. I'm not sure how much of this reaction was forced and how much of it is Piglet just wanting to play defensive.
True, it's like, oh my god, now Piglet's being defensive, and it's like, well, he was, you know, it's Piglet. He was going to do that anyway. It even forces a Cyclone first out of him as well. Again, I'm sure just to make sure he defends against a Roach push. I'm sure that's what Piglet is thinking right now, going like pool first into Roaches. It's what Oreo did to Seether in their first game, if you remember, on Waterfall. So Piglet trying to anticipate and prepare against that. As we can see, that's not happening, but he can suddenly turn this defense into an offense with that medevac.
Yeah, he can very easily drop the Cyclone across the map if he so chooses, load up the rest of his Marines as well. And there's quite a bit you can do across the map as he gets a Fusion Core back home. You love to see it. How many starports?
Yaku, I want to go back to bed. I don't
know. Oh, it's already in bed.
I don't know if I want to witness this, Yaku, as would you have a bit of a jump coming across the map here. Piglet does have a Banshee coming out behind this as well, just to defend, just to make sure he will have a unit in case Roaches go for a bit of a counterattack, and that will be followed up by that BC.
Yeah, that's going to do a lot to really just keep... That's really going to do a lot to just make sure that Piglet has the map control in this game. It's interesting that he decided to go for a Banshee as well. Very good targeting down on these queens. Two of them will go down. Great start right now for Piglet.
Very great start here. It looks like the drop is going to get barely picked off here. Cyclone does land, and it does get a lock on here on one of these queens. There is no transfuse, but it looks like the DPS is high enough. The drop does get cleaned up, so a bit of a trade going on between our two players. But what's important is if we look at the units, sorry, if we look at the vision, Chappy is unaware about the follow-up.
Oh, yeah. It is just a single starport for the time being, so, Piglet isn't too committed to that Gumiho style, which is actually a little bit worrisome that Chappy did decide to commit to a Spire this early.
Yeah, Chappy going to be going into Lingbane Muta. Not a bad response against Mech. It is a good way to gain map control. And because the Spire is already on the way, he will have an answer to BCs if we see a commitment. As we can see, there's no commitment. Like, there's no Yamato on the way. There's no second starport. Maybe we get a second BC behind this. But I do think that this is just a way for Piglet to keep the aggression and the pressure up.
Yeah, especially since he is, once again, going into that mech style.
Yeah, additional factories being thrown down. 2 CCs, 3rd and 4th CC at the same time or around the same time. But Piglet just being as greedy as possible right now as he even tries to slip on in with some Hellions, but they are met by the Queens.
Yeah, immediately chased away, but with the Queens chasing away the Hellions, that means there's nothing to contest this BC in the natural base. A very quick evacuation of the drones. But still no answer to the BC itself.
Yeah, unfortunately there were no spores in position. There were no additional queens either. We only have 6 queens as opposed to the typical 8 to 10 that we usually see in this position. Spore does finish up in the main base, and the Spire is now done, but that BC has already paid for itself. 7 drones go down.
Yeah, not bad damage. Not bad damage at all. It can, of course, just wait for teleport to finish up and just TP right on out and have another BC TP right on in.
Oh boy, exactly. As you say, that second BC does finish up on up and it can go across the map. Piglet may not choose to do so though because he did scout the Spire that it was already completed, so teleporting across the map would be a death sentence. So he's going to be a little bit more careful with it. He's going to try and skirt around the edge of the map, and ooh, with this BC he can even chip away at the Spire itself.
Yeah, a couple of Mutalisks now out, but not too many of them. They're going to be trading very, very well before being forced to teleport right out.
Exactly,
like
one
so.
Muta. Yeah, one Muta does get picked off there by Piglets. Meanwhile, Chappy's done a great job at droning up and just taking his side of the map. 81 workers, we have 5 bases. The Hellions were being a little bit annoying earlier, but they weren't able to keep the pressure up. Piglet was more concerned with a run-by than he was with dealing damage, so yeah, he's been stuck at home, and Chappy has been free to just get his economy underway.
Yeah, those 6 drones from earlier on, very, very easily replaced with Chappy already in the late game. Amount of workers at 86, going to be 87.
Yeah, exactly. As 5 more drones go down, actually, to this BC does have a teleport available. There we go. Is going to run on back home. And Piglet is already working on Thors. I worry a little bit for Chappy. I mean, Chappy is working on Roaches. Don't get me wrong. He is doing exactly what he needs to. Like, Lingbane, Roach Ravager is what you want against Mech. But he's also continuing to invest into these mutas. And so far, they haven't really done too much, to be honest. They've been able to deter the BCs, I guess. But that's kind of it.
Yeah, unfortunately for Chappy, he hasn't quite been able to find the blind spot or the weak link in Piglet's defenses to get that Rasper damage done. So, we might as well strap ourselves in.
Yeah, you were talking about it even before, like, when the duct tapes were playing. You're like, are we really playing on Cosmic Sapphire? I'm like, yep. One of the larger maps in the map pool, it can be split in half as well. Chappy is getting close to max though, so I'm sure he's going to be wanting to hit a bit of a timing here with +1, and depending on the positioning of Piglet, Piglet could lose the base.
Yeah, he's out in Center Tower, but it's not quite covering all of his bases, especially not covering that 4th base that's looking mighty, mighty vulnerable. It's even an orbital command!
Yeah, it is not going to be a... Exactly, just goes to show how greedy Piglet is being. Meanwhile, these rocks are going to be cleaned up. Chappy doesn't want to commit right now. He's just opening up a couple of avenues of attack, shaving off or replacing some of his mutas as he is losing them. And now Chappy is getting ready for a bit of an assault. He actually hasn't scouted the 4th base. Now he has.
And that's right now where he's going to concentrate all of his forces.
Yeah, as soon as he sees it,
yeah, Piglet going to meet that in kind, and with the BCs in position, Chappy will decide to commit.
yeah, he's going to try and dive on top of the army. The tanks were on siege for a moment, but once they do siege, Chappy is forced all the way back. The Banelings weren't able to find their connections, and so far, Piglet has been able to hold on to his fort.
Yeah, barely taking, I mean, any damage here, not even losing any SCVs or anything, really.
Yeah, Chappy's going to try and go back in as well. Unfortunately, this middle line isn't really saturated, so Banelings roll on in, but they only get 3 SCVs and a mule. The mule count gets reset, but this is still okay. Again, Chappy is forcing Piglet to stay at home, and he's just taking literally every other base on the map.
Yeah, I think there's 2 unclean bases right now, but they are a little bit closer to Piglet's side of the map, so it makes sense why Chappy isn't contesting them. Mutalisk count did get reset, but the time for Mutalisk has long passed. Chappy is getting a couple of Corruptors, deal the BCs, and just focusing the rest of his army on ground forces.
Yeah, exactly. We do see a BC just barely escaping. Thor count is getting higher and higher. It's going to be difficult to really make use of Vipers. Vipers would be amazing right now, to get me wrong, but because the Thor count is getting higher, it may not be worth to invest into that right now. Just pure Ling Bane Roach Ravager for the time being. Our upgrades are lacking a little bit. +1 missile attack actually hasn't even finished yet for Chappy. It'll take a while for that to really kick in.
Yeah, until then, Piglet is going to have a very easy time chipping away at this Zerg army. A little bit of friendly fire in the base, in the mineral line. That is something that Chappy can really take advantage of, but not when he's fighting this far off of creep. Not when he's fighting 4 tanks already sieged up and another 5 in a different position.
Yeah, there's just so many tanks here, and it looks like Chappy has recognized the tank count, and he is going into a greater spire. I do think that right now it's maybe a little bit too early. It's hard to say. Looking at the units tab, okay, we actually only have 3 Thors right now, so this would be a good opportunity to go into Broodlords.
Yeah, he does need a little bit of spare supply for that, though. Let's figure out a way to utilize some of these roaches or some of these lings.
Exactly. Meanwhile, we see Piglet rotating over towards the left-hand side, looking to threaten the gold base. We do see Chappy rotating in kind here, trying to keep up with the army movement of Piglet. Meanwhile, those upgrades are finally finishing on up, and Piglet, now maxed, he is looking to be the one to move out.
Yeah, slowly but surely going to establish himself on the map. Hasn't quite scouted a gold base yet, but that would be a huge pickoff once he does scout it.
Exactly. At the same time, we do see a little bit of Ling run by, only going to distract the army of Piglet. And to be fair, the army does turn around for a moment, so Chappy's going to be able to buy a little bit more time, making more Ling Bane here to receive the army of Piglet.
Yeah, just trying to lure him into a position where he can flank every single position. Forces a bit of a premature siege on a couple of these tanks, but I feel that the army is so strong for Piglet regardless that there's not a whole lot Chappy can really do. I mean, he's forced to cancel a bunch of his Broodlords just because there was nothing contesting these BCs.
Yeah, again, those Broodlords, they were supposed to be the Hail Mary play here to defend against this push, but the Broodlords, not a single one of them will finish. The BCs were a little bit too good. I guess it was a little bit too early to try and transition into that, and now Piglet is breaking on through. His army is still maxed out. He's getting on top of these bases. He's getting on top of the production.
Yeah, on top of the everything, really. The siege line has already been established. Chappy still has a bit of a bank. He still has a lot of larva, but I'm looking at the army supply difference right now, Light, and I really don't think there's a way for Chappy to bounce back anytime soon. I mean, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, the reality is, and this is the problem with when Piglet moves out, he's pulling back now actually, but Chappy needs time, but he's not even gonna go for it. Despite having a bank, he didn't have the larva. He knew how far behind he was. GG gets called, and Piglet takes the series.
At least it wasn't a 40-minute game this time.
At least it wasn't. GG. I do, like, looking at that, I do want to say that it did feel like Chappy, his mental game was broken there for him. Like he just didn't want to try and continue to fight back against that. Like missing that window to go into Broodlords really did hurt him. He was doing honestly a really good job up until that point. I was pretty impressed.
As was I. But yeah, I understand why he didn't necessarily want to continue from that position. I would feel the exact same as Chappy as well. So GG. Piglet will advance to face Oreo in the qualifying match, whereas Chappy will go down to the lower bracket where he will face Asher Bro, actually.
Ooh, interesting. That's gonna be a spicy series, very spicy indeed. And honestly, I feel like Asher has a bit of an advantage. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the in-game broadcasts.
Yeah,
I
did. Yeah.
I was talking to Asher yesterday even, and he's like, yo, if I play Chappy, there's no reason not to play Mech, because he knows he's gonna get under his skin. And I worry a little bit because even though Chappy was playing really well, I do know that like these games do affect him in a certain way. Like they can be very depressing sometimes to lose, or to play against. And hopefully Chappy
That's a polite way of saying smooching.
it is. Hopefully Chappy can maintain his willpower a little bit there, because he still has a chance to qualify today.
He really does.